Okay, a lot of stuff to update. We've made progress on frame, on electrical, on plumbing, on insulation, just kind of a lot of the systems of the trailer. So I'm gonna start here at the front. The trailer ended up pretty high, and so the jack we got didn't quite reach the ground. And so just took the grinder, cut these brackets off, moved the jack up about 5.5 inches, and then welded it back on there. I did check inside to make sure all the moving parts were not gonna be an issue. By using your ground clamp on this piece, you know you're not gonna be running the current through and seizing up any of the parts inside. Really important. You don't ever want your welding current to go through bearings, especially wheel bearings. It'll pit wheel bearings and cause you all kinds of problems. So just always think about your ground path when you're welding. Here you can see I've got a little terminal box here that has the cable coming in from the vehicle up in the front, nice and waterproof. Cable coming down each side that's running through the EMT that runs to the rear, marker lights, tail lights, backup lights, etc. But just a nice little terminal block here. So if you ever need to do any work of any kind, super easy to pull this open, troubleshoot a problem. You do have the brake backup breakaway controller as well. So in California, where we are, any trailer that's over 1,500 pounds gross vehicle weight rating is required to have a battery operated engagement system for the brakes. So that just goes on there. All the wiring is nice and tidy. You can see here, fitted the safety chains, everything like that. We've also spent a little time in the past few days painting the trailer black. So we just kind of blacked everything out. And we're using 3M tape, which I'll show you in a second. But before we did that, we fitted all of these insulation panels. You can see all the insulation panels here. That it was much easier while the frame was still exposed. And so we've cut all of these pieces of insulation, labeled them so we can find them easily to go back in. We're going to use some caulking material to go around and spread a little on to adhere them in place. But when we have access to both sides of the frame here, really easy to hold it up here, trace it, and then put it in here. So you can see there's 2 roof panels on already. We're just using this 1/8 inch plywood. It's the door skin plywood that's typically on the insides and outsides of hollow core, especially doors. And we've used 3M's excellent high bond tape, double-sided tape on here. You can't see it right now because we roughed up the steel and we put the tape on there. I'll scratch off a little bit of the paint on here so you can see. So we roughed up the steel so the tape would get really good adherence to the steel, and then we painted over the top of the tape before peeling off that double stick layer. So we got paint in there everywhere except where the tape is, got a good seal. We put this one on here the other night. We've got a good roller here that we're rolling all of the seams. So after we put the plywood on here, we'll come back and we'll roll all these seams. This puts a lot of pressure in a very small point to make sure that's stuck really well. So there's the roller, nothing special, just get that at the hardware store. We rolled these on and I actually tried to push one off with my hand, and I probably had to exert about 30 to 35 pounds of pressure in just to get 1/4 size area to pop off. So that's really excellent. Really what we're looking for is good adherence. For our openings and things, I'm just using a drywall saw or cutting tool that you would cut around outlet boxes. Whenever it cuts through this plywood really well. So we're going to be putting ply on the outside and then putting our insulation in, and then putting another layer of plywood with the fabric or headliner or something on the inside. We'll get to there. You can see that there's a lot of plumbing pipes in place, some electrical wires in place. So this is where a water heater will be going. We've got a little Camp Lux tankless water heater that we'll be mounting here, and that's why the PEX pipes are stubbed out here. Did want to keep that outside the vehicle just for venting and carbon monoxide purposes. We want to do everything we can to not have any potential of introducing carbon monoxide into the inside of the trailer. So you can see the plumbing layout here. What I do ahead of time with all of this stuff is draw. I love drawing. It helps me get my thoughts in order. So I made this little drawing here that's just for me to tell me Maybe they don't necessarily go in this order, but it makes sure that I've accounted for all the pieces that I need, that I can start to count all the fittings and different things I need. I actually labeled the hot and cold. I've got check valves in here, so we're not going to be causing any problems with anything else. Then once I had that, we started outfitting the trailer with proper connections. So my wife found these beautiful marine grade connections. I had some rather, well, not great plastic looking stuff, and so this stuff is all stainless. This will go in here, and this will go in here for our low pressure water and our city connection water here. So the low pressure water will come down this hose here from here, and I'll get a shot of that once it's all installed, but it's easier to see right now, down into our freshwater tank. Again, our freshwater tank is in place. It has been mounted, secured. Before I put all this stuff in, I'm a home brewer also, so I've got some Star San. So I have a bucket of Star San and water over here, much friendlier than bleach solution to sanitize things. So before we put the tank in, actually my parents were down, and so they helped out. My dad helped sanitize this tank, and they helped us clean a lot of stuff here. So here's our freshwater tank. You can see kind of a mess of plumbing right here, but this really is the entire plumbing for the trailer. So these two hoses will come up for the interior shower. Here's our exterior shower box right here. Here's our toilet, and by keeping all of the plumbing clumped really close together, other than the sink that's over there on the outside, and again wanting to put the water heater on the outside, all the plumbing really happens in this one zone. So you'll see later on, but this is where the queen bed will be, and we'll have a panel that will lift up. So if you ever need to work on any of the plumbing, it will be lift this one panel up, and you can get to 90% of the plumbing right here in this area. So you can see it starting to take shape a little bit as we're putting some of these panels on. It's going to be a little hard to see inside and outside once we get a few more panels on here, but you can see that we've insulated the wheel wells as well. We're putting insulation everywhere we can just to make it as tight as possible. Also added studs up on the top here for the solar panels. We've built an aluminum bracket. Brackets for the solar panels. You can see 3 sets of studs here and 3 sets of studs here. For the time being, we are just going to be using 2 100-watt rich solar panels with our same Victron controller we've been using. Highly recommend Victron stuff. Done a lot of research and actually done solar installs and had solar installs done on projects we've been doing. Victron is just making fantastic stuff. So we will have 2 batteries up here, propane tanks coming right next to the water heater, which you'll see all of that soon. Also, I think since we looked last, I've added a hitch to the back here. Certainly this is not to tow anything with the back, although the way that I typically overbuild things, you probably could tow something here, but this is mainly just a hitch for a bike rack or the other motorcycle rack or other utility type things, and not really for anything heavy duty, although you can see it probably would be just fine if we needed to use it for that. We did put the trailer on furniture dollies, as you can see here, which has been really handy. So if we need to move it around anywhere, and the other day, in fact, we rolled it outside to spray paint it, with one person it can really easily just move around to wherever you need to be and just create a really easy working environment if you don't have a lot of shop space. Great solution. So that's kind of where we are now, and we'll update soon with some other big moves.